Hello, Motorrunner World fans. We've got a great one-on-one interview here with the new MotoGP rookie star and South African sensation, and a beautiful man, as I call him, Darryn Binder, with the with you RNF Yamaha racing team. Daz, we haven't chatted to you one-on-one since your first real MotoGP test. So the first question I've got for you that everyone wants to know is, what machine are you using are you using Quartararo's championship winning bike? Are you using Rossi's bike? You know, can you answer that for us?
Yeah, so basically I'm riding the factory 2021 spec bike. So last year's factory bike that the factory team was using. I've got those bikes for this season, and yeah, it's really nice.
And then setup wise, did you just plug in a Fabio Quartararo setup or a Morbidelli or a Rossi setup? And how much have you changed, you know, since you've been riding, or have you literally just been trying to adapt to one of those setups? And do you have access to all Quartararo and Rossi and Morbidelli setup? You know, give us an idea of how you're going about the setup situation.
Yeah, so as far as I know, I think we pretty much started off on like a Quartararo setup. You know, that was the base setup of the bike, and then we just started riding on that. And yeah, we've tried a few different changes, you know, like springs and a little bit of the height of the bike, lowering the front, lowering the rear and whatever, and playing like that. So we've just been moving in like around close to that, you know. But the biggest thing that I was playing with in Malaysia was learning like the traction control and the power maps, and that more power, less power. You can change engine brake, first part of the corner, last part of the corner, corner by corner. You can change everything, you know. So we were playing more on that than the actual setup of the bike. And I think we found a pretty nice base lap in Malaysia that I was really happy with. Found a bike that just by changing the electronics, I made it a lot easier to ride, and made me a lot more comfortable on it. So yeah, coming here to Mandalika, hopefully if the weather is good in the next 3 days and that, I think we're going to obviously start to play a little bit with the setup, you know, because obviously they've had my comments now, you know, for the last 5 days, and seen which direction I'm kind of looking towards, you know, searching for what I'm searching for. So I think we're going to put one setup in the one bike and one in the other, and do a couple back runs, and then we'll really see in which direction I want to go. But yeah, for the beginning, we just started with the Quartararo setup and worked more on the electronics. And yeah, I mean, I can see everything from every rider from previous years to at the test. I mean, when they come in and plug their bikes in, it goes straight to the main, whatever you call it, and my guys can pull it from the main source. So he can go out and do his quickest lap, and I can come in and say, okay, I want to see it. I want to see what he did, you know. So I'm able to look at all that stuff, which is really nice. Super cool. And yeah, I mean, having them with us is really nice, because looking at data from a couple of years ago, you know, times change, conditions are different and stuff. So looking at things right there and then is really nice. So yeah, that's super cool. And I think that my bike compared to the new ones this year is not crazy different either. I don't know exactly, but yeah, from what I've heard, it's not too different.
And then from your rookies test, obviously we hear, you know, a lot about rookies coming up, especially you making the giant leap from Moto3, you know, 200 horsepower extra now on a MotoGP bike. You know, how long did you run the bike on a slightly detuned power map? You know, from your rookies test to the official Sepang test, did you go from, you know, kind of 90% power to full power, or what were the big changes there?
You know, I think the Jerez test, they really cut a lot of the power and stuff those first 2 days in Jerez. But from Malaysia, from the shakedown test already, I think we pretty much started with full power, at least in meaning like once you get to 100% throttle and stuff, that the bike's giving you what it's got, you know. Sure, they maybe toned it down in a couple corners and that, but saying that, then by the second day, you know, we were trying all the different maps and stuff, and I was learning everything. And at one stage I was like, guys, give me like a lot of power. I want to see what it's like. And I can tell you, it was really difficult to ride. My first lap was my fastest lap, and by the fourth lap I was almost a second slow, because I was just all over the place. And as soon as I switched it, push of a button, I changed the map back to the soft one, and I just started going faster and faster again. So yeah, giving a lot of power isn't necessarily a good thing.
With great power comes great responsibility. Okay. Also with the testing, us as outsiders, especially the general public, always wonder, okay, what's your tire allocation? Did you do your fastest time on a soft tire? Was it a medium tire? Let's focus more on the official test rather than the shakedown. What is your tire allocation over those 2 days, and how much time do you focus on longer runs on medium tires, and how often do you go out on new tires, and when do you really look at it, and do you look at track temperature and air temperature in case this is when we're going to put softs on to try and go for a time attack?
So yeah, if we look at the official test, I mean, it was pretty clear that we started at 10 and you could ride until about 1. And then from 1 to like 3:30, 4 o'clock, you don't ride because it's just too hot. And then from 4 to 6 is again when you start riding. So the prime conditions are either 10 o'clock, that first run, or that last 10 minutes to 6. That's like the prime conditions. And yeah, we have tire allocations. So basically in the official test, we had soft or medium front and soft or medium rears. And yeah, it's just, I think it all depends on the riders and whatever, on which front they like. But I think 90% were the mediums, the one to go to. And then for a time attack, obviously use the soft. And yeah, it just depends on your plan, like what plan you've got during the day, what your team want to try out and that. I think everybody's plan was pretty similar on the last day of the test in Malaysia. Everyone knew that there was a possibility of rain in the afternoon. So, I mean, that first 2 runs when we started at 10, it was literally like a qualifying session. Everybody went out there, stuck in the soft and put in a lap time. And yeah, I mean, and then the plan after that was to work again on the mediums, the medium rear, and like work more like a race, and get set up and all that. But yeah, it all depends, the conditions work better in the morning. And then also if you save your tires to do the qualifying simulation at the end of the day, normally you've done already like 60 laps, so you're feeling a little bit tired in that. So to go and stick in 2 qualifiers of like 3 laps at 110%, it also plays a role. So it just depends on what you do. But yeah, I mean, like the last day of the shakedown test, instead of doing like a qualifying simulation at the end of it, I did a race simulation. Okay, I didn't do a full race simulation. It was my 3rd day, and I only did a 12-lap run. But yeah, that was what we did. So it just depends. You've obviously got to play it on the allocation with the tires, because we don't have a crazy amount, and you've got to plan. So like I presume we don't. In like Malaysia, I didn't really like the soft front tire, so I try to use it like the first day in the morning, and I actually did try to use it for a fast run at the end of the first day, and I really didn't like it, and I actually ended up falling on it. So then, but we had to try it. We didn't want to, because the second day we didn't want to use it at all, so we were saving for that second day. So yeah, it really depends. Everybody's got their own plan, but like here is going to be difficult because we never know whether it's going to rain or not here, because it's been great the last 3 days, and today it started raining last night. This morning it started getting hot, and then it poured down again. So yeah, you just got to take it as it comes and try and make a plan and use the track when it's good. You got to make sure you take advantage of that. But at the same time, it's a test. So sure, you want to go out there and put in a banker lap and have a good lap time on the board, but at the same time, you need to focus on getting your bike working for a race, So yeah, it's actually quite funny.
So what is your actual tire allocation and over like a 2-day test? Let's talk about softs. You guys obviously got to be very careful with your soft rears. That's the prime tire. How many do you get over a 2-day test?
I think in the Malaysia 2-day test, we had five soft rears, 5 medium fronts. So that was, I think, I'm not actually 100% sure. I can't remember now. But the problem is, you in a day, generally you get about 3 sets a day,
Yeah.
more or less. So that's like, let's say you use 2 mediums and 1 soft at the end, or you start the next day with the used, and then you again got those 3 sets. Maybe you try and do a qualifier, then you use 2 sets straight away in the morning, then you've only got 1 in the afternoon. So I mean, you ride the tires till they're dead.
Yeah.
So if you use those 3 sets, at the end of the day, each set you've done more than race distance on them. So you've got to use them. And that's also the thing, like if you use the softs, you know, like we did the qualifier in the morning at the last day of the official test, then I rode around on those softs until like lunchtime, just to finish the tires. And then we were like, okay, after lunch, when it starts cooling down again, we're going to work on the mediums all afternoon. And then the rain came. Then we put in the wets and got a guard on the rain tires. So yeah, it's I'm not like, there's always everybody's on the same allocation. So it really just depends what you like and what works for you. I mean, in Malaysia, it was clear that the medium front was the one. And if you wanted to put in a second, quicker lap time, you stuck in a soft. And that was basically the difference. Almost, I think some guys could do over a second on a soft rear, you know.
So then you, in your rookies test, you very much focused on, I'm going to ride myself. I'm not going to worry about following people. You know, I'm just going to do laps. I'm going to learn and everything. Get into the official test. Now you got Brad, Mark Marquez, Dovi, all on the track with you. For the official test, did you focus a little bit more on, okay, well, let me, you know, try and go out with Dovi, or if a Foster rider passed you, did you try and tag them? Did you learn some things by tagging them? What was your approach there?
So basically the first day of the official test, we just carried on as normal, you know, just working on ourselves. And that obviously, if somebody passed me that, like a faster rider came past, I would try and tag in and just try and look and see and learn as much as possible. I did go out behind Dovi at the end of the first day and just try to hang on behind him for a couple laps. I had like a new tire, he had a used tire, so I was able to hang there quite good, and it just see like the lines and stuff he was using, which was really helpful for me. And then yeah, I mean, it's funny because the second day in the morning, I got out behind a couple guys, you know, and I was hanging in right behind them. But, you know, because it was the first time I got to ride behind these guys, that I'm feeling the slipstream effect and how it sucks you in on the brakes and stuff. Although I was going faster, I messed up in a few places because I wasn't expecting like how different it would be. So it actually, as much as it helped, it didn't help, you know. So I think it's really important to get to ride with these guys in amongst them, so that I can learn what the bike behaves like when around these guys. Because I mean, even when guys pass you down the straight, there's like turbulence and stuff, and it's like the bike wobbles and whatever. So it's really important to obviously ride with these guys and learn and figure everything out, so that when I get into the race, it's doesn't come as a surprise and I don't make silly mistakes, you know.
Daz, final question for you. What has been the biggest learning curve? You know, we all look at it and go, jumping from 100 horsepower or 95 or 60 horsepower, 70 horsepower Moto3 onto this 260 horsepower MotoGP bike. What has been harder, actually riding a MotoGP bike, or the behind the scenes sitting and understanding, you know, all that goes into it, sitting with all those red and green lines on a computer screen, overlaying data, you know, understanding the squat device, all those buttons on the handlebar. I mean, it's, apart from the horsepower jump and the brakes and the tires, there's also this behind the scenes that people don't realize is this massive jump.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, when you're riding the bike and you're just out on track and braking, coming in mid corner, opening the gas, it rides like a normal bike, you know. It's, at the end of the day, it is a motorcycle, it's got 2 wheels. So when you're riding, it feels good, you know, you feel normal. But I'd say the biggest thing is learning everything, like you said, like all those electronics, everything, and how they work, you know, and if it starts to spin, what you can do to stop it from spinning, how you can try and help yourself. There's so many things that go in. And also, like you said, looking at the computer, sitting there, understanding, because the one day I was really like, we worked a lot on the electronics, and I really felt like when I wasn't spinning and stuff, I was going faster. But then at the end of the day, when I had the new tire, I felt like I'd taken away too much power, that I was looking for more power because I had the grip. And then, then we go back and we say, oh, but when we gave it to you, then you didn't like it, And I'm sitting there and I'm really baffled. And I was like, guys, honestly, I don't know what to say. And then we went over data and after looking at everything, I realized I wasn't losing anything coming out of the corners when I felt like I wanted more. It's just that I'd finally gotten used to that power, So I'd finally gotten used to it, and I was actually just losing on the braking and coming into the corners. So then I had to understand, okay, cool. Now I need to brake later, harder, stop the bike and go, because now I've figured out, I've got a little bit more comfortable, found a map that I really like, and it was working. So yeah, it's definitely the hardest thing has just been to figure out how everything works. I mean, the beginning, the hardest thing was to get used to the speed. For me, the power, I couldn't, I'd go to bed and I'd think, okay, at the end of today, I felt comfortable, like every time I opened the throttle, it didn't feel like I was holding on for dear life. But then the next morning, after you've slept, it feels super fast again. So by the third day, I mean, obviously I got more used to it and that, but the first couple of days, every time I'd go to bed, I'd wake up expecting to make a step forward, and I'd feel like I'm starting over again. So by the last day of the official test, I really felt like I went out and I picked up where I left off the night before. So that was a really good feeling. I went out and I went almost half a second quicker than what I did with a brand new tire the day before, and I went out on a used one. So I felt like then I'd finally adapted a little bit, So stuff like that, definitely looking at all the data and that, going over everything and seeing where I can make the time and what I need to do, that's definitely been the hardest part.
How many times on track did you go, oh shit, I forgot to press the squat device, or shit, I forgot to change maps, because all that to understand?
Yeah, the squat device is pretty easy. I mean, we don't use it everywhere. You only in Malaysia used it on the 2 long straights. So it was pretty easy, okay, get there, pull the lever, it's going to drop down, we're good. So I would say that I adapted to the squat device quite a lot. But the maps and stuff, yeah, the problem is there's three buttons, and in your mind you're like, oh yeah, the red one is the one that I need to push. And you look down and you're like, was it the red one or the yellow one? And the one day I actually made a mistake, and instead of changing the traction control map, I pushed the wrong button, which at the time we had a fun button that you could turn everything off to pop wheelies. And I pushed the wrong button coming onto the straight, and this thing starts wheeling, and I'm got it flat out. I'm like, oh, it's going to grab me now. I'm going to be fine. And the next thing, this thing's up, flipping 12 o'clock. I almost flipped. I was like, okay, push the wrong button.
Look, it's good to hear that you guys are human beings at the end of the day, because we all just think you're robots. Daz, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for this one-on-one time. I think you did a fantastic job at Sepang. I was telling a lot of people, if you can just get into the 59s, it'll be brilliant. To end the test off at 1.7 off and in the 59s was fantastic. I hope you go into this Indonesia test and just carry on progressing. And we look forward to catching up with you hopefully after that test and just before your Qatar race. But if we don't, good luck for that, man. And yeah, just carry on doing what you're doing. You're a beautiful man, even though you have long, funny hair, and we'll support you no matter what.
Lekker. Thanks, Uncle Rob. I appreciate it. And yeah, just going to keep chipping away, and let's see. Looking forward to the next 3 days.